WWE Men's Royal Rumble 2025, ranking the 5 most likely winners. One of the biggest Royal Rumbles in WWE history takes place this weekend, as one of the most stacked rosters ever assembled competes in a Rumble that is ridiculously difficult to predict. These are exciting times for all wrestling fans, as this more cohesive, creative, and unpredictable WWE broadcasts a PLE to Netflix for the first time in the Ultimate Who's Who event of the company's calendar. It's all set up for a fantastic weekend, as the first steps toward WrestleMania 41 start to take shape. But who is the favorite to land a spot in WrestleMania's main event this weekend? Roman Reigns has spent the past few years dominating all who stand before him, but that situation is made a little more complicated by deals with devils and wise men who owe substantial favors. Sami Zayn and Jey Uso are two of the most popular superstars in the company, but neither have held WWE's biggest prize. With John Cena's farewell tour not quite ready for this one, can Seth Rollins put his emotions aside to finally be the top guy in the company? These are the top contenders for this year's Royal Rumble match. Ranked opinions are at a fever pitch on Jey Uso at current, but his popularity cannot be denied, and he seems certain to be earmarked for a WWE Championship victory. Every Monday Night Raw is a sea of yeet signs, and WWE clearly believes in him, as shown by Travis Scott and Quavo joining Jey's party in the first month of Raw being on Netflix. Even still, Jey Uso is not quite ready or being built for the main event of WrestleMania. Not yet. At least Jey Uso is still going to win substantially at the Royal Rumble. A stadium full of people yeeting is going to be up there with Daniel Bryan's yes when it comes to visceral visual impact at Lucas Oil Field in Indianapolis. Expect him to be in the match in the later stages, but to come up agonizingly short. Jey Uso will look to capitalize on last year's underwhelming performance at WrestleMania with his brother, Jimmy. There is so much going on in WWE right now that Seth Rollins' emotional meltdown is flying under the radar. Rollins is the architect because he always has a plan, but this version of Seth is not operating that way. When taking into account that he has a career-long history with Roman Reigns that hasn't reared its head since the OTC's title reign ended, at least in part down to Rollins, Seth is going to be a central part of this year's Rumble, that it's hard to imagine that this is his year, when Seth himself admits his priority is not winning the Royal Rumble. He has promised to write the latest chapter in his long-running feud with CM Punk this weekend and take Punk's WrestleMania main event from him. Sniping the Second City Saint will be Seth's primary objective. That's worth considering when it comes to a favor that's floating around that very subject matter. Sami Zayn's date with Destiny at this year's WrestleMania is coming his way like a freight train at the Royal Rumble, but it's unlikely to be because he's punched his ticket to the main event. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline getting the band together for Survivor Series was made all the more delightful when they were joined by Sami as the honorary Uso once more. It sent a ripple of feel-good factor through the WWE that stopped at the feet of one man. Kevin Owens has made it very clear what he expects of Sami Zayn this weekend, as KO is locked in a violent feud with no moral limits with Cody Rhodes over his decision to tag with Roman at Bad Blood. Owens expects Zayn to have his back on Saturday, and he's wrong. So wrong, in fact, that Kevin Owens is likely to cost Sami Zayn in the Rumble, setting up the biggest match of their career-long journey that in all of the drama of Raw and SmackDown. Plus being announced for the cover of WWE 2K25, it's been lost that Roman Reigns is the man to beat at the Royal Rumble. Drew McIntyre has noticed and warned everybody, and the Bloodline are going to cause hell for the OTC, but Roman is still the most feared and respected man in WWE. He spent the last few years mauling anyone who dared to challenge him, and he's the man to beat in this year's Rumble match too. This is no ordinary WrestleMania season though. Injury robbed CM Punk of his big WrestleMania return at WrestleMania 40, but Punk helped Roman win War Games at Survivor Series in exchange for an undisclosed favor. Look for Roman Reigns helping CM Punk in a shock moment in the Rumble, potentially to the detriment of Seth Rollins. After all, Roman still owes him one from last year's WrestleMania. This is no ordinary WrestleMania season, though. Injury robbed CM Punk of his big WrestleMania return at WrestleMania 40, but Punk helped Roman win War Games at Survivor Series in exchange for an undisclosed favor. Look for Roman Reigns helping CM Punk in a shock moment in the Rumble, potentially to the detriment of Seth Rollins. After all, Roman still owes him one from last year's WrestleMania, make no mistake about it. CM Punk has been the focus of this year's Royal Rumble match. All of the contenders named in this piece want a piece of Punk. Drew McIntyre spent his 2024 brutalizing him, and the controversial superstar even picked a fight with John Cena on Monday Night Raw, despite Cena's absence from WWE television. It's been a busy year for CM Punk, and we aren't even out of the first month of it, even though they had a great segment together on the Raw before the Rumble for the second year running. CM Punk is unlikely to choose Cody Rhodes if he wins. Punk versus Roman Reigns has been rumored for WrestleMania, which feels possible if Punk were to beat Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship before WrestleMania. That also leaves triple threat opportunities for Seth Rollins, but expect CM Punk to defy the odds and for Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman to assist him in doing so. Drew McIntyre made a great argument to be Roman Reigns' WrestleMania opponent. The landscape for WrestleMania 41 has been up in the air for quite a while, with WWE teasing several different possibilities for the biggest show of the year when it comes to the top names in the company. For Roman Reigns, potential opponents for the show include CM Punk, Jacob Fatu, The Rock, and a rubber match with Cody Rhodes, though in recent weeks a different name has made a big claim for Reigns' WrestleMania opponent. We will take a look at how the Scottish Warrior Drew McIntyre has thrown his name in the hat, and why he is near the top of the list when it comes to who will take on Roman Reigns on the grandest stage of them all ever since he returned to WWE programming following his loss to CM Punk at Bad Blood 2024 in a violent and brutal Hell in a Cell match. Drew McIntyre has set his attention on the likes of Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso. This is due to him having unfinished business with the members of the OG bloodline who stood by Roman Reigns during his tenure on top of WWE, and who also played a role in screwing McIntyre out of world titles. McIntyre has battled with each of these Reigns supporters, also warning Cody Rhodes for his forgiveness towards Reigns and appreciating Solo Sikoa for turning his back on Reigns. That McIntyre has made it clear that at some point soon he will work through each of these bloodline members on his way to getting to Reigns himself. His promo work in this feud has been great, especially since he is justified in wanting revenge on someone who had a reign of terror over WWE as a heel, and is now accepted by fans as a babyface despite not changing his ways all too much. It falls in line with McIntyre's character of not being able to shrug aside his grudges. And without any interaction with Reigns thus far, McIntyre has sold the story perfectly when looking at WrestleMania 41. The card is very unpredictable with few obvious matches in the months leading up to the Royal Rumble. There is likely to be various short-term feuds ahead of WrestleMania, unlike previous years when more long-term storylines played out. This is why it is very important for Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns to do battle at the show, as it will be part of a much longer storyline that has been playing out in the background for several years. McIntyre and Reigns have a history that can be looked at and returned to both before the bloodline and during their time on top. WrestleMania